Friday evening. A person sits at home in silence. The phone doesn't ring, no plans, no compromises, no hustle. And you know what's strangest? They're smiling. Not sadly, not guiltily, genuinely. Because this is their choice. Not an escape from the world, not a defeat, not depression. This is a conscious decision of someone who understood something fundamental about the nature of relationships and the human mind, who no longer wants to pay the price for an illusion of connection. You've been told your whole life, solitude is a disease. A person without relationships is unhappy by default. You must strive for connection, for communication, for partnership at any cost. This is a lie. Not because connection is bad, but because most people confuse connection with dependency. They call attachment love, habit closeness, fear of loneliness need for people. And here's what happens. You don't live your own life. Your decisions are filtered through others' opinions. Your emotions depend on the mood of whoever's nearby. Your worth is determined by how much someone else needs you. This isn't freedom. This is a prison with soft walls. But there are people who left this prison. They're not antisocial, not damaged, not afraid. They simply understood the quality of inner world matters more than the quantity of external connections. Today, I'll show you 6 traits of such people, 6 signs of an internal revolution that most don't even notice. If you recognize yourself, write in the comments. Let's go. Trait 1. They stopped seeking validation in others' eyes. The average person builds their self-perception on reflection. They look into the mirror of social reactions and think, this is who I am. If they're praised, they're valuable. If ignored, they're nobody. This is emotional slavery. A person who chose solitude broke this mechanism. They understood a simple truth. Another person's opinion of you is a story about you told through the lens of their fears, projections, and traumas. It's not truth, it's interpretation. And when you understand this, magic happens. You stop adjusting, stop explaining, stop proving. You become the source of your own worth, not a consumer of others' evaluations. Imagine a woman who spent years building herself according to male expectations. Right figure, right words, right smile at the right moment. Then she stops and asks the question, who am I when no one's watching? And in this silence, in this solitude, she finds her real self. Not the Instagram version, not the mask for society, herself. This is the first step to inner freedom. Key insight. Your worth isn't determined by others' approval. When you stop seeking validation from the outside, you gain power over your own life. Trait 2. They see manipulation where others see care. This is harsh but necessary. Most people can't distinguish between genuine connection and emotional control. They tell you, I'm worried about you, but really mean, I'm afraid of losing control over you. They tell you, we're family, we must be together, but really mean, you must sacrifice yourself for our expectations. They tell you, why have you become so distant? But really mean, why don't you play by our rules anymore? A person who chose solitude learned to read subtext. They see when an invitation is an attempt to fill someone's void, when a request is a demand, when friendship is a transaction, and they leave. Not with anger, with clarity, because their brain no longer accepts deals where they pay with their energy for an illusion of belonging. Research shows solitude is toxic only when it's forced, but chosen solitude correlates with high emotional intelligence and independence. This isn't isolation. This is curation. You choose who enters your space and why. Key insight. Not every connection is a blessing. Toxic relationships are worse than quality solitude. The ability to distinguish care from control is a sign of maturity. Trait 3. They're comfortable in the silence of their thoughts. Most people are afraid to be alone with themselves. That's why they fill every second. Music, series, scrolling, meaningless conversations. Because in silence, questions arise that have no ready answers. Am I truly happy? Am I living how I want? Who have I become? This is uncomfortable. A person who chose solitude went through this discomfort. They sat with these questions, didn't distract themselves, didn't run, and discovered something incredible. Their own mind isn't an enemy, it's an ally. Silence isn't emptiness, it's space for thinking, for creativity, for understanding. When you don't fear your thoughts, you don't fear being alone. You enjoy it because your inner world is richer than any external stimulation. You can spend hours thinking, reading, creating, simply existing, and that's enough. This isn't escapism. This is presence. Key insight. If you're afraid to be alone with yourself, that's a signal that something inside requires attention. Comfort in silence is a sign of inner wholeness.
Trait 4. They see the difference between solitude and isolation. Solitude is a state. Isolation is an action. You can be alone and feel connected to the world through books, art, nature, ideas. You can be in a crowd and feel completely isolated. A person who chose solitude understands this difference at bone level. They don't cut ties with the whole world, they cut ties with toxicity. They're not against people, they're against superficiality. They don't run from communication, they demand depth. And if there's no depth, they prefer silence, because empty conversation drains more energy than genuine solitude. Imagine a man at a party. Around him, laughter, music, dozens of people. But all conversations are surface level. Everything's fake, everything's empty. He leaves not because he's not social, but because his brain evolved. He no longer gets dopamine from empty interactions. He needs substance or nothing. And that's great. That's a sign of growth. Key insight. Solitude is a choice of quality. Isolation is escape. The first gives power. The second takes it. Learn to distinguish. Trait 5. They understand that most relationships are fear contracts. Harsh? Yes. Truth? Absolutely. Most romantic relationships aren't built on love. They're built on fear of being alone. Two people cling to each other not because they enhance each other's lives, but because they're afraid to look into the void alone. This isn't partnership. This is mutual rescue. And you know what happens in such relationships? You don't grow, you manage. You manage your partner's emotions so they won't leave. They manage yours so you'll stay. This is a control game masked as intimacy. A person who chose solitude sees through this. They understand. Real connection is possible only between two whole people, not between two halves seeking completion in each other, but between two self-sufficient individuals who choose to share life, not save each other from it. And until they meet this, they choose themselves, because being whole in solitude is better than being a fragment in a toxic pair. Key insight. Fear-based relationships are a prison for two. Real love is possible only between those who aren't afraid to be alone. Trait 6. They live in accordance with their own rhythm. Society operates on standardization. Certain age for career, certain age for marriage, one path for everyone. A person who chose solitude rejected this program. They understood their life isn't a race, it's an authored work. They don't need to explain why they're not married at 30, why they have few friends, why they spend weekends reading instead of at a bar. Their rhythm, their truth. Their brain works differently. Their energy replenishes differently. Extroverts charge from people, introverts from silence. But even that's too simplified. Some people simply evolve to a point where external stimulation is no longer needed in previous volumes. They found a source within: philosophy, creativity, thinking, nature. This doesn't mean they're against people. It means they're against losing themselves to conform to others' expectations. Key insight. Your life is your work of art. Don't let society dictate a rhythm that doesn't suit you. If you recognize yourself, listen. If you recognize yourself in these traits, you're not broken, not strange, not wrong. You simply left the matrix of social scripts and saw that most people live on autopilot. They seek relationships because that's what you're supposed to do. They seek company because they fear silence. They seek validation because they don't know who they are without it. But you know, you met yourself in solitude and didn't run. You stayed. You listened.
You understood. And now you live from a place of inner strength that most people can't even imagine. This doesn't mean you're alone forever. It means when you choose connection, you choose it consciously, not from desperation. When you let someone into your life, it's addition, not rescue. The psychology of solitude isn't the psychology of rejection, it's the psychology of choice. Choice of quality over quantity, depth over surface, truth over comfort. Most people will never understand this. They'll ask, "Why are you alone? What's wrong with you?" And you'll smile because you know the answer they're not ready to hear. You're fine. More than that, you're excellent. Because you found something most people search for their whole lives and never find: peace with yourself. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. This is the beginning of real life. A life where you don't react to the world, you create it. Where your solitude isn't punishment, but privilege, space for growth that others simply don't have, because they're too busy managing opinions, maintaining masks, and playing games whose rules they don't even understand. But you're free, and this freedom is the most valuable currency in a world built on dependency. So, if you chose solitude, choose it fully. Not with guilt, not with excuses, with pride. Because you're one of the few brave enough to meet yourself face to face and not just survive, but flourish. This is your life, your rhythm, your truth. Live it. Like if this video hit home, subscribe to learn more truth about yourself, and write in the comments, did you recognize yourself in these traits? Like if this video hit home, subscribe to become psychologically unshakable, and write in the comments which trait resonated most strongly.